most people have such old school beliefs of what it looks like to be an entrepreneur. But the world has changed. And what it looks like to be an entrepreneur today is completely different from what it looks like 10 years ago.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to Inner Archaeology. I'm Emily.
And I'm Sarah. I feel like we should say a little bit about ourselves. I'll talk about you and then you can talk about me because I hate talking about myself. How about
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah. That's always my move. I always have people introduce each other and they're like, ooh.
It's
and
a
they
good
get
move.
so much more excited.
It is.
Than introducing themselves. So Emily Pennystone is a wonderful mother and jewelry maker and entrepreneur. And the thing that is like really awesome about her and why we even have this podcast is that she's like so just like a I had so many different directions I wanted to go, but she's one of the most emotionally intelligent people I know, probably the most. And you're like it's just like a vacuum of like information, but you like distill it so beautifully. And so I'm always learning from you, and and we love talking about beliefs and why we believe what we believe and mindset work. And that's Emily.
Yay. And this is Sarah Treger. And she
but everywhere online it still says
it's
Turner.
Sarah Turner. And she is a copywriting mentor extraordinaire, and she teaches people how to replace their 9-to-5 and free themselves from the constriction of that by becoming an entrepreneur and being a copywriter. And her, I guess this like program that you can go through is called Write Your Way to Freedom, and it's changed so many people's lives. We recently had a weekend like event that I finally got to meet a bunch of the students in person, and just like the people that are like drawn to you are just like such beautiful people because you've created such a beautiful environment. Like it's just, you're magnetizing the right people. I love it. And so Sarah is like changing lives left and right. It's incredible to see how like you empower people. Like your energy, your personality, like what you bring to the table, what you bring into a room is so expansive. Like I feel like you give people permission to be like their biggest, best self and be even bigger and better than they think they can be, which I fucking love. Sarah is also carrying a little bambino in her uterus. Oh my God. Where are we at? 11 weeks?
Yes, 11 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God.
It's
So there's a small little bean in there that we're all freaking out about. And
I had so many dreams about him last night. It's crazy.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah, I was like holding him. They were really sweet and simple dreams.
Yeah, those are the best.
Baby.
Mm-hmm.
I was like trying to find a diaper and they were all like so big that they like fit his whole body in them. And I was like, This is not going to work.
That's hilarious.
That was like my whole dream. As I was like, this fits the whole baby.
We got the wrong size. That's so sweet. Yeah. I remember having those dreams.
I was like holding him and
have you had any breastfeeding dreams yet?
I was breastfeeding last night. It was so sweet. That's actually the first time I've had a breastfeeding dream.
Yeah.
It was such a like sweet dream because it was so simple. It wasn't like, but it was very like vivid and memorable.
Mm-hmm. It's probably just like just a little peek into the future. That's what it is. I love it. So nice. That's us. Ta-da.
That was good. And in our archaeology, we love to dig into like why we believe what we believe. And because we've realized that kind of choosing your beliefs, if you will, is like one of the most powerful things you can do in your life.
Yeah. And just being aware of what beliefs are like exist because they are dictating your life. And I think, and so many of us, we like, and I know I have moved through my life just being so unconscious about all these beliefs that are calling the shots, really, you know? And so I think that this is just such a fun exploration into just becoming really conscious and aware of the, you know, how we're moving through the world and the reality we're creating with our beliefs. Which I love. Totally, it's my favorite stuff to talk about.
And you can find us on innerarchaeology.com. that will show you like any link to any little platform your heart desires. You can also just listen straight from the website. But we also have innerarchaeology.tv where you can watch us because we do record all of these. And then we're also on YouTube now. So those episodes have started rolling out, which is super exciting.
Yes. And we also have a Patreon where we have exclusive content that you can only listen to episodes there. And you can find us at patreon.com/innerarchaeology. It's like $5 a month. We do have a lot of like more juicy content that we want behind a little bit of a paywall. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go check us out there. And we always love hearing from you. You can email us anytime at innerarchaeology@gmail.com or on our Instagram, and all that stuff a lot of it should be linked in the show notes, I'm hoping. But reach out to us. Yeah. Tell us what you want to hear from us. Like all that stuff is so good.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we want that to actually go at the end. Do people actually want to hear that? We shall see. Okay.
We shall see.
Well, hello. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. Whenever this is a topic, I'm always excited. So
this is a good one.
In fact, I find myself wanting to suggest it a lot. And I'm like, you can't always talk about entrepreneurship, Sarah.
This is like your life's passion, though.
When you mentioned it, I was like trying to play it cool. You're like, what about like beliefs and like things we've learned in entrepreneurship? I was like, yeah,
that could be a good one.
That could be a good one.
You're like
trying
breathing.
To play it chill. But inside I was like
I love that so much.
I'm like, yeah.
I mean, this is like this is so big for you. Like and me, but like you are like bringing this to people. This is like what you're offering to people, which I just love so much.
Well, I think one of the aspects of it that I love is like that it touches on this kind of conversation, which is most people have such old school beliefs of what it looks like to be an entrepreneur. And so they don't even it's not even an option for most people because of their beliefs. And so, but the world has changed, and what it looks like to be an entrepreneur today is completely different from what it looks like 10 years ago. And there's so much more accessibility. And I just see it as like such an opportunity for breaking free from just like constraints of like the 9-to-5, of our old school beliefs around what careers and life look like, or can look like, should look like. I mean, there's so many fucking layers, and it just, I don't know. I get amped. Beliefs around like what university means, its purpose in our life. You know, I think we just we're like literally on autopilot. Like the number of people who go to university that like did not need to, shouldn't have, and just put themselves in like crippling, like harmful debt. I mean, it's like all over like news headlines, like the student debt and how it's like harming people, like actively causing harm. Like universities are actively causing harm, but because there's such a like pillar of success and wealth and prestige in our country, like nobody's like just saying it like it is. It's so like bananas because it's all beliefs, right? It's all our parents' beliefs for the most part, passed down to us about how to have a good life. And they just started like, don't apply anymore. And the only way to see that is to look at your beliefs and to like actually look at the world as it is today, not as it's been like fed to you by your parents. Because your parents, like, they're telling you what worked for them when they were 20. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same. And I feel like that was an overview of why I love this conversation.
So
because there's just so many layers to it. And I don't know. Yeah, it's also like one of my favorite ones too, is like when people are like, I don't have what it takes to be an entrepreneur because I'm not X, Y, Z. Yeah. Risk taking, bold, extroverted. Like, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I just think it's like it's such a blaring example of people like holding themselves back. Right. And not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, like for sure. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there could be a lot more. And I just think it's good because we need more problem solvers. And that's what you get when you get people like thinking outside the box. Yes. This world we need some fucking problem solvers.
Yes. And
And
like
as
this,
many of them as possible.
mhm. Yeah, this
Sorry.
whole like no, I love you. I love this. This
I
is all
just-
so good.
Do you know how often I think about how there is like just the most incredible like peacemaker or scientist or entrepreneur who's just like working in a fucking sweat factory somewhere.
Mm,
And like just because they don't have access to opportunity, we're never going to like get from them what like we really
the
need from them.
brilliance, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just like that is a thought I have almost on a daily basis. And it's like the underlying very dramatic example, I'm like crying, of why I think this is so important, because it's like we have to like lift as many people up. That's what I think.
Yeah.
There's my spiel. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now.
I love it.
Sip of coffee so I can shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. Like, I mean, and the whole point of how it's beliefs around this idea that are holding most people back. Like most people that have access to the internet and have access to, like that level of like privilege and, opportunity, what's holding you back is like your beliefs. And you like highlighted some of those beliefs.
And a lack of awareness. I also think it's
being
just
even
a
aware of
lack
the beliefs.
awareness.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
being behind, like the lag between like how the world changed, because technology is changing so fast and our beliefs are like not catching up as quickly. I think there's like just genuinely like a lag in like good quality information being put into people's brains.
Yeah.
Which is why it's going to be priority number one for me to teach my kids, and for me to like let my kids teach me about the world as it is today. Like, I think that's the thing that like, people are like, I love to talk about this too, like harping on like Gen Zs and they're so like lazy and they're privileged and blah, blah, blah. And like, but their parents who like criticize them for being the way that they are, like miss out on the fact that they're actually like showing them that the world is different and changed and they have more opportunity and they are more privileged. Like,
yeah.
So what?
Isn't that what we wanted? Yeah.
Wasn't that the goal? Isn't that why you worked your butt off to give them
Right.
a better life than you had? Like, anyway.
Right.
It's just like, and so for me, like teaching my kids that like what is true for me or what's true for me may not be true for you. And that's really important that you keep your eyes open as you kind of navigate like what you want to do with your life, because technology is only going to continue to change. It's only going to continue to change more rapidly.
Right.
I heard this like fascinating Peter Diamandis talk. He's like, the founder of the X Prize. I don't know. He's like very, very brilliant man. And he was just talking about how like rapidly technology is changing like the world as we know it, including like how jobs look and how businesses just don't last as long and how we think that's a bad thing. But he's like, is it a bad thing? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we just have to adjust our expectations. Right. Maybe that's just like what it was before, but we actually now move more quickly. Businesses can pop up in like 5 years and be like a massively like impactful company. Isn't that exciting? Rather than this like slow burn of like the old school like factory businesses from like, Yeah. And so his whole thing was like, with like technology is only going to change, it's only going to change more rapidly, and therefore you have to open your eyes to the world around you. And you have to like be constantly challenging your beliefs. He didn't say those words, the belief part, but I was like, obviously like put my own filter on it.
That's what you took away
I
from it.
have a feeling I'm just going to like steamroll you all conversation.
Steamroll me. It's fine. I like it.
You're like, that's my kink.
It's my king, just being steamrolled on podcasts.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm sorry.
No.
This is why I was trying to play it cool when you picked this topic.
I get to pick on you. I think one of the biggest blocks that I come up against, and I think and it's one that I had myself, was that this idea that an entrepreneur, quote unquote, you're like born with something special. You have like a special entrepreneur gene. Like your parents were entrepreneurs, and then it's just in your blood. And like, unless you have that special thing, you're never going to be able to make it and you're never going to do it. And so this idea that entrepreneurs are like some exclusive, like special breed of humans, and they've got certain qualities that you have to have in order to be an entrepreneur, that you just don't have. And so you don't even ever give yourself a chance to even have a thought about it, or even be like, what would that be like to start this little business, or do this here or that there. That this is one of the big ones I come up against, and one of the big ones that I had in my own self when I first started, being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's like we've set them apart to be special when I like really believe that they're not. And again, it's
people.
technology has changed it. Like what is it to be an entrepreneur, right? And now there are people who love to argue like, what's an entrepreneur? Because I teach freelancing, but I feel like freelancing is like the gateway drug to entrepreneurship. I joke that copywriting is the gateway drug to entrepreneurship, but at the end of the day, like, because you can ease your way into it, and it's not something like, you don't need a brick and mortar location because of the internet. So you don't need a ton of capital. You don't need a ton of, like, another thing is like accessibility to knowledge, right? Like before the internet, like how the fuck did you figure out how to run a store well? I have no idea. Like,
you probably did need to know from your parents. Like you probably did need to inherit the store from your parents to know how to run the drugstore or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Like how would you know that you were like doing a good job? And the other thing is also with the like accessibility of the internet, like if you're not doing a good job, everybody knows. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to like figure out like,
it has
if I'm
a
going to start a
standard.
business.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that's like risk taking. Being risk taking is like one of the ones that I do not identify with. And for the longest time, I was like, well, I guess I'm not an entrepreneur, because I hear these stories, especially because I spend a lot of time in entrepreneur like events and circles and masterminds and stuff like that. And there's a thing, and I've just kind of come to like, in my mind, I've actually separated like feminine and masculine entrepreneurship, right? Because most examples of entrepreneurship are like masculine.
Yeah.
Because that's the world we live in, and they are the ones who have felt like the right and the have had the permission to kind of go for it, right? Women don't have that, I feel like, as readily, because they're like, no, you can't, like, and that's why I don't think I ever really like identified with it. Like, I feel like as a woman, especially if you're like planning on having a family, like you can't be like bold and risk taking. That's so irresponsible. That's like literally going against like being a mother, like, and like caring for your family. Like, it's just like, it's so different. And so the whole like idea of being like super bold and risk taking. And so in these circles, they like love, like, I can't tell you, like I go to these mastermind events and they love to share stories among each other. The men, and I'm like speaking in massive generalizations here, right? This is just like classic stereotypical like patriarchal bullshit, right? We are all aware of it. So but they love to tell stories of people who have like lost hundreds of millions of dollars and then like figured out a way to like build another business and build back. And I would hear those stories and I would be like, why is this celebrated? Like, I do not understand. And it's because it's the idea that like, if you are an entrepreneur, it's the old school idea, you are risk taking and you are resilient and you are, I don't know, you like get down, you get up when you're knocked down, right? That's the idea. And so they love these stories, but I've always been like, I don't think that like I would be proud of this. Like if this happened to me, I would just be so much more interested in like wanting to build something. But it's also because I think they really value like rapid growth. And that's usually how people ruin their businesses. Is through scaling to the moon, and then they break things. And so like right now I'm in a business that's scalable, right? It's a community, a coaching, a mentorship. And I have people telling me to scale harder and faster. And I'm like, that's not the point. It's not about, it's about making sure we have like a really quality experience and really quality people coming through and a really, really quality coaches. And it's just, I don't know. So I like in my mind have like kind of coined it like feminine entrepreneurship, for lack of a better word, to kind of to kind of just like put the idea of like what I call like people first, rather than profit, people over profit. Yes. And it just like feels, for me, it feels better. And I don't know. And now like the competitive part of me wants to like come out where I'm like, let's be better than all these men run businesses.
Yes.
Which are like largely a group of women.
I mean, like, I love that. Like you're introducing this like new way to lead teams, new way to like scale a large business that you're doing in this like very ethical way, I would say, and like
Try,
empathetic way, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm like super stoked about that, seeing that unfold.
Yeah, but it's a
Mm.
different way. And so it doesn't, the way I do it isn't really risk taking. Like it's been a slow growth process. It didn't happen overnight. Like there are people who have grown their business to where I am in like a year or two and beyond. And it's taken me like 4 years to get where I am. And even like where I am right now, I'm kind of like everything's running really smoothly. We just did a major overhaul of like the structure of the business and brought on like 19 new people, 19 like new employees. So it's like a massive team now. At least it feels massive to me. And I don't know, like I'm in mentorship programs and all the men are like, okay, well now like scale to the moon. And I'm just like, no.
I'm going to enjoy this.
And they're like, yeah, I'm like, no, we're going to do it and we're going to refine it all along the way. Like,
I wonder if there's like a distinction. Yeah. Is there a distinction between like some end goal or end number and the experience of the process, like the journey itself, and that being something that is like really enjoyable?
That is a big part of it. Yeah. It is. It's like enjoying the process, enjoying the people. Freaking love my team. I on the weekends when we don't have like team meetings, I like miss them. Yeah, I do.
So
like,
this idea of risk taking, it brings up another thing that I hear people say a lot whenever, because this is what happens. Anytime I'm like with a group of people or something, I'm meeting people for the first time and they're like, oh, what do you do? And I'm saying like, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got like a jewelry business. I do like mindset coaching, like whatever. A lot of times sometimes this happens where people feel like they have to justify why they're not an entrepreneur to me, you know, and they go, oh I could never because of, you know, like those things happen. And a lot of times
interesting
what it is.
I feel like this must be where we live.
This could be it. You're in LA. Yeah. And I'm in Asheville,
I've
North
never
Carolina.
had that reaction.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, that
okay,
could be very
going.
much it. So it's this idea that ties into risk taking, but I could never like not have the security of my paycheck every week.
This is the biggest bullshit belief that makes me so
tear
fired
it apart.
Up.
Tear it apart, Sarah.
Such bullshit. It's such bullshit. Listen, if you like a regular paycheck, that's all it is. It's regular. It's not stable. It's not secure. It's
not promised.
It's not promised. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
It is literally the same amount on a consistent basis.
It's predictable, sort of.
It's
like
it's predictable to an extent.
Because it could disappear at any moment.
Yes. And anyone who has lived through the 2008 recession, which is like right when I was coming onto the job market, you were coming onto the job market, and anyone who's lived through the pandemic, like how quickly were people labeled essential and non-essential workers? I was just like, are you kidding me right now? And then everybody, like, so many people lost their jobs. Like, how is that stable or secure? It's really not. It is a fucking illusion. And I think it's an illusion. And this is the part where I'm like, okay, Sarah, don't get all like conspiracy theory. But I think it's like, because I don't think it's conscious. I don't think that like employers are consciously like spoon feeding us. This is the stable, secure way. Stay a cog in our machine. Like, I don't think it's like that intentional and maniacal, but I do think that it is like one of the most pervasive bullshit beliefs that keeps people small because your paycheck is not secure and it's not stable. And I have been saying this. I had been saying this for so long, like to my community, especially, and before the pandemic, right? Because I was saying this mostly based on my experience with the 2008 recession. I was like, this is actually bullshit. And then when the 2008 or the pandemic hit, it was like a wave of like an awakening within my community. They were like, holy shit, I see what you're saying now. I'm like, yes, it's just like one global event and like it's all fucking gone. But when you're an entrepreneur, you are actively adopting kind of a student mindset. You're staying flexible. You have to stay flexible and adaptive and like open and aware and you don't just like put your blinders on and go in and like get your like, also it sounds like I'm talking shit about people who have jobs. I actually like I'm really really not. Like
Yeah.
some people, because of what they want to do with their life and like their passion and their calling, requires being a part of an organization,
Right.
and we need massive organizations to get like
Mhm.
massive things done.
Mhm.
Just have to say that because I know I've had people say to me before, they're like, why do you like think people who have 9 to 5s are like less than? And I'm like, I don't. I'm just
Yeah.
mad at the like beliefs that keep people who want to try something
Right.
different small.
Yes.
Like specifically the beliefs and the structures
Yes.
that like, you know, create those and like
Mhm.
keep them strong. So that I'm like more mad at the beliefs in the system than I am like the people. Like people are
Mhm.
just trying to fucking figure it out. I like
Mhm.
anyway. So yeah, the paycheck thing is absolute bullshit.
Mhm.
And that's why when you also another thing that's like huge in entrepreneurship is diversifying your income, which I think is super important. And so many people who were like just starting their businesses, you know, had been doing it for a while. As soon as the pandemic hit, they're like, oh, I lost 25% of my income.
Right.
But I didn't lose all of it.
Right. Because you didn't
And
have all your eggs in one basket. Yes.
yes. And I know exactly what to do to make up for that and to fix it.
Mm.
Whereas like everyone else is like now what, trying to find a job in the middle of a pandemic when there's just like a wave of people losing their jobs. Like
Right. There's this, it's this
bullshit.
right. And you know what it is? It's that the paycheck is what's comfortable because it's what you're used to and it's what you've done. And the idea of entrepreneurship or the idea of truly taking like that step, because you have to lean into some discomfort to shift those beliefs.
100%.
Right. And I think the big thing that people are averse to is the discomfort. It's simply that. And you label it any which way that you want and make excuses for yourself any which way that you want. But that's one of the things that I feel like is being really driven home in me and in my own life, especially like this last year, is that there's such thing as good discomfort. And good discomfort comes with change and growth, and it's something to embrace, you know, not something to like run away
100%.
from. Yeah.
The better you can get at like being comfortable being uncomfortable, or at least just like practicing discomfort, I mean that's just like a recipe for resilience, like truly. And I actually think that you can do this both like internally and physically, which is why I've also really liked things that are like really physically challenging and hard, because like at the end of like, I don't know, that's why Outward Bound was like a game changer for me. You know, we talked about that in one of our episodes. Actually, I think it's in Patreon, right? The coldest we've ever been.
Is it in Patreon? It might be in Patreon.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we talk about that, but like being frozen to the point where like I couldn't use my thumbs for weeks, right? So if you want that full story, you know where to find it. But the thing that I came out from that was just like, there are depths to your strength that you don't even know exist until you're forced to like work with it. And that's also why, you know, like people are really into ice baths right now. Also, I mean, it's got great benefits for your body, like, but like mentally it's good for your body because it's like a practice in resilience and pushing through things that are like just so uncomfortable. I really love ice baths, which is like crazy because I'm like hate cold water, but the benefit of all of that is just like being more resilient. And that's the like, honestly, that is like possibly one of the most important things you can cultivate yourself in today's world, because the world is going to continue to change and change rapidly, and there's like no point in just like resisting that.
Yeah, it's like
or
a
being
superpower.
like, I don't like it.
Yeah,
it's like it's like the number Ben and I was like, what's the number one like characteristic you want to like help your child embody? And he was, and we both said resilience. It's like very, very important to both of us.
I love that so much.
It's so important. Yes. I don't know. So I just like, another one that keeps people small, which is like real specific, is just like health insurance. Like I can't tell you the number of students who come through my program who have chronic health issues, and they're like, well, I can't quit my job because I need health insurance from my employer. And I'm like, you can figure that out. And if you can make twice as much money from your employer, and what you'll pay health insurance, which will probably be like $500 a month, even with like seriously like intense like pre-existing conditions. $500 a month, but if you can make like $3,000 a month more, like on your own,
Right.
it like more than pays for itself,
Right.
because you're not like limiting yourself and keeping yourself small. But it's like this big fear
Yeah.
that they have. And I actually just had this wonderful student story with a woman named Bailey that's on my YouTube channel, where that was like something I mentored her through, because I was like, she was so scared to quit because of health insurance. And so I was like, I know this was a personal struggle of yours, and I harp on this all the time, but I would love to hear from you now if you think that the health insurance is a big myth, fear that keeps people small.
Yeah.
And then she just went off for like 10 minutes, and she was like, I wish I listened to you. It's such bullshit. Like, it's just employers trying to keep you small and think that you like need them. You know what I mean? Like they like, and again, like hesitating because I don't want to sound like I think employers are like literally that maniacal, because they don't. I think they're just doing like kind of what was historically done.
Right.
But like,
it's a block. It's a block in people's minds. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, I can't do it on my own. I need this for health insurance. It's like, you fucking don't. You don't need them. You can stand on your own 2 feet. I promise you. And you don't have to go all in. You can ease into it. Start a little side hustle. I love that side hustles have become a thing. You know?
Yeah. Yes. Like small baby steps. Like you don't have to go 0 to like here. That whole idea of like, if you make the first step unattainable, you're never going to take it. Like you got to make the first step steppable. Like you got to be able to do it. And if it's literally like, this is what I tell people when I'm trying to like hype people up to be entrepreneurs, which I do a lot. I'm like, it might be your first step might be spending 20 minutes reading an article of somebody who did something that you want to do. Like it could be literally that simple.
Watching a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Like literally like listening to podcasts on your way home from work. Like that is literally where it starts. And then opening your mind and kind of just exploring and seeing like what sounds good, what might work for me. And that's the other thing, because like, here's the other thing is people look at, so I've had a few people say, well, I look at like what you've done with Write Your Way to Freedom, and I'm like, I would never like want to do that just because of like the responsibility of like having a team that big or like whatever. And I'm like, if you had gone back in time 5 years ago and said, Sarah, you are going to create a business with like a team of like 19 plus that's going to like be a multi-million-dollar business, you know, I actually like might not have ever started, because I would have been so scared, because the version of me that like exists today that feels confident doing that is so fucking far from who I was 5 years ago. Because I was so scared. Yeah, I was so scared. I didn't even want to be like that copywriter girl. I was trying to like, how can I get this information to people, because I think it's really important and really valuable. But like, I don't want my face on anything. I don't want my name associated with it. But like, I'm a marketer, so I know I can't do that. So it's like a real like wrestling like moment. But I just don't know if I would have started. I think I would have been too intimidated by the future. But I just like, that's not what happened. I just did like a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And I always did what felt right. And there were so many times along the way where I was like, I'm not ready for that step. And I just wait to see if I am.
I mean, that is like, you bring up such a good point. And this ties into having self-trust, is that the version of yourself
sense of self-trust.
Yes, a developing sense of self-trust is just the understanding that you are a person that grows. You are a person that changes and adjusts. And so you in 5 years is going to be a completely new, different version of you that might be capable of so much more that you can't even fathom right now, because you haven't achieved that growth. But factoring that into your experience, factoring in this idea that I grow and change and I adjust and I learn is so important. And like that's something to like lean into, that kind of like, it's a trust, but it's also just kind of a fact, you know, it's just kind of something that is, you know.
And that's something I tell my students a lot is I'm like, listen, because they get hung, they'll like look at the big picture, because I try to get them to just do step by step without worrying about the big picture, because I found that that's like the best thing you can do, even for me. That's how I like build my business, just like the next step that's in front of me, not like 10-year plan. I don't have a 10-year plan. I have a 1-year plan, but it's like real loose. It's like, this would be a nice goal. That would be pretty cool. It's like revenue goal, team retreat. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my like 1-year goal. I'm like, that would be cool. And that would be cool. But oh man, I lost my train of thought because I started thinking about the team retreat and got really excited. That's really funny.
I was talking about like trusting. I'm stoked about it too. Okay. It was like the self-trust in that you like grow and change, and you were talking about like the 10-year plan, but that's not the best way to look at it.
This is the thing I tell them. Yes, sorry. I'm like, squirrel. Okay. This is the thing I tell them, because they'll look at the big picture and they'll be like, they'll start asking me when at the very beginning of the process about reaching out to clients. And they're so scared. Like, I'm so scared to reach out to clients. I'm like, but you're not there yet. That's like a month or 2 away. And I know that a month or 2 away doesn't seem that long, but the version of you that's going to be reaching out to clients is actually going to be a different version of you than stands in front of me today. You're going to be 2 months worth of work is going to be enough to make you be like,
to get you there.
Maybe I can do this. And then you're going to do it with the maybe I can do this. But right now you're not there yet, but you're not supposed to be there. So just like take a deep breath, look at the stuff that's right in front of you, and remind yourself that future you is going to be so much more prepared and ready when the time comes.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing that stops people from taking that next step, is because they look at a problem that they know, and they could be like true. It could be like 100% true and valid. A problem that they know they need to solve.
But it's like step 12.
Like a few months. Yeah, but it's like, but you're not there yet.
Right.
Like, so it's actually like on live Q&As, we do this every week. So often I'm like, you're worrying about a problem that isn't your problem to deal with yet. Like, and that's going to make you crazy. Like, you have to wait until it's actually the problem to solve in front of you. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's so applicable just like in life, like in general. Yeah, totally. Another big one, this was a really big one for me, was when I was looking at just starting to think about maybe like starting a jewelry company or being a jeweler. This was like, the big block that I had was the idea of me just like sitting behind like a desk and making the most beautiful pieces of jewelry seemed so luxurious that I didn't feel like I could give myself permission to experience something that seemed like a luxury to me.
I love that you brought this up. That's such a good one.
Yeah.
And
it,
how'd you get through it?
I actually worked through, there's this like little course called The Artist's Way. And because this was very much because there is like a collective belief system that anything that's art is this not necessary luxury, you know, and we've talked about this before. And
I used to believe that.
Right. And we've like done the full loop of
wrongly.
Of, like, art is necessary because that is what we are like doing all this stuff to experience, to like have the pleasure of like these like beautiful things, you know? And so I the limiting belief was I don't deserve to experience this luxury, and I had to shift it to my creative expression is necessary. Not a luxury. And I had to like do this whole, it was all in my head before I ever even took one single step. I had this huge block I had to get over. And I remember I would write all these like little Post-it notes and I would stick them in like all over the place, and I would look at them all the time. And I just started believing that like I deserved to like enjoy my creative expression and make money from that. Like make money from doing what I enjoy. And then it was just like one step at a time. I literally taught myself from YouTube videos how to do this particular technique of jewelry making. And I taught myself step by step of the way.
You
And
made me
it's
this
so
ring.
wonderful. I did.
Like,
I love it
how do
so
I make
much
it
with your emerald. And it's and now I'm like if you were to have told me 5 years ago that I would have an art studio in South Slope, downtown Asheville, that I could go to, and I was being commissioned to make these like beautiful pieces of jewelry with precious gemstones and gold and all this stuff, I'd been like, get the fuck out of here. Like who, like, you know what I mean? But it was stepping into this, giving myself permission to do what I enjoyed instead of this belief of, in order to be successful or to make money, that I have to kind of like suffer and do something that I don't like. Right.
Yeah. And now you've made me love jewelry so much because of it. Just like appreciating the craftsmanship and stuff. We talked about that too. But yeah, it's interesting. There was something you said that I wanted to like tease out because it was so good. It was about it being like luxurious and like, I mean, just being like overly abundant. Oh, making money from your art. It's interesting. It's because like, that's such a pervasive one, making money from your art or your craft. Cause like with the passion economy where people are just like quitting their jobs and like making ceramic mugs for the rest of their life or whatever it is, you're like doing their pottery thing. And
Cakes
it's
that
no longer,
look like tacos.
Yeah. It's no longer like just for fun if you want it to. But I know so many people struggle with making that leap, even with writing, with copywriting. Like, I love writing and I don't want to ruin it with money.
Ooh, yes.
And like that in and of itself is just like, well, you have beliefs around money. Like that are like, money is bad, money is evil, money ruins things that are like you can choose not to have those beliefs. You and I have worked through this so hard because we both had our fucked up money mindset. Still kind of do. It's a work in progress.
It is.
It's actually funny because sometimes my team will see something like, where they're like, oh, like, you know, just like earlier this year when we increased the price of the course, I was like out loud in front of my team talking about my money mindset issues with it. And they were like, oh, you still struggle with money mindset.
You're like
and
a
I'm
human.
Yeah,
and you have like,
I'm a human.
Yeah.
I still got my shit. Like,
I
was like, oh yeah, it's still there. It's still there. Here are all the beliefs that are coming up.
Peeling back layers.
That are like totally programmed into me about making money off of something that like I know the value is there and we put so much work into it. Holy shit. Like it's worth way more than what we charge. But yeah, it's just like that one creeps in there too. Making money off of your work and then thinking that it's bad. It's like, it's just your beliefs around money that are holding you back. You can be like, money is powerful and energetic and I can do good things with it.
Like,
and
we
I
need
can be
good
a good
people
person in the world.
Right.
With money.
The thing is we need really good people to be wealthy. Like, that's what we need. We need lots of good people being wealthy and solving problems.
This is also why I'm so passionate about this conversation and what I do, because I'm like, the people who come through my program, for the most part, it's like lots of women who are moms who like want to take care of their family better and like their communities. And they have such big hearts. And I'm like, you're the people that we need to be rich.
Yes.
Like, we need you to be rich.
Yeah.
Not all these like bros with Lambos. Like
the Lambros.
Lambros. Anyway, I'm like, I could go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And just like, it's so important. And so just like, I don't know. This is why I want to like infiltrate high schools. It's like one of my plans.
Like teaching this in high school. Yeah.
Yes. Like you don't have to go to college and go into debt. Like just like,
do you have an idea?
Other things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And know what? I do,
especially because they're not tainted by like university telling them their ideas are dumb. Like, what's your idea? But there's so many good ideas that are just being smashed.
I do feel though that with YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that, young people, teenagers are seeing that you can be very successful having a YouTube video. So there's already like a shift in beliefs than what we dealt with, where they're like, oh no, I can't. Yeah.
That wasn't
Yeah.
like as we were coming up. This is like
No.
now, as we're
This
like
is
already
now.
like
This is like my
full blown
kids.
adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids or teenagers now are seeing, oh yeah, I could just like make money, like doing my passion or whatever, or having a YouTube video or traveling around the country and vlogging or whatever. And like, so there, it's already breaking down that like structure that we were under, you know, of like, you have to go to school, you have to go to university, like these are the steps. So I do feel like just technology and the internet is already dismantling that, you know,
Yeah.
in a way. Yeah.
I still think that parents are inaccurately and unconsciously force feeding their beliefs into their children.
Oh, 100%. This is parenting.
And kids just care so much what their parents think.
You just described parenting. It's
I
like
know.
people force feeding
like,
their kids.
I opt
beliefs.
out.
Yeah.
Listen, I've said this before, but you're going to have to be like, Sarah, you're going to have to like say some of your beliefs. I'm like, I don't know. My poor kids, they're going to be like, what do you think about this? I'm like, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to be so scared to brainwash them that they're going to like end up in therapy because they're like, I have no idea what my mom thinks. She would never tell us. So it's always
I feel like I'm just floating in the void and
I feel like
chaos.
I'm floating and nothing's like tethering me to this earth.
My mom doesn't answer any of these questions. That's so funny. It's so funny
I'm just,
because
so scared.
Because it's very rare that the conversations are that explicit though. The beliefs come through covertly is the thing. And so like sometimes they're explicit like that, and that's great because then you're like, oh, I got this. But it's when it's like covert beliefs that unless I've got my finger on the pulse, I'm just like shoving this down their throat because it's just
because it's subconscious, just subconscious.
Yeah. 100%.
Damn it.
100%.
I'm not immune to it. It's okay. We'll figure it out.
But I think like, I mean, gosh, like talking about like conscious parenting, that, I mean, this could be a whole other well, we had one that was on it. My sister like guest spotted on our podcast, but that's a thing. That was
One thing one story that came up when you're talking about your jewelry that like I don't know, this story sticks with me, and I think I've told you. Yeah, I've told you before, but I posted a day in the life of a copywriter or whatever on my Instagram. And it was like very much my day when I'm home and like not traveling, like a simple day, right?
Yeah.
Of work. And I remember some guy got so triggered and left this like really angry comment. He actually deleted it, which I'm like kind of sad. Because he wrote this whole comment about how overindulgent my day was. And how self-indulgent it was.
Yes.
And how it was just like too self-indulgent and like because I do like this really long like morning routine where I meditate and do gratitudes and snuggle loaf butt and drink my coffee, and I like really protect my time, and I don't start working until 10 a.m. Sometimes I respond to a few messages here and there, but like, and I have a whole morning to like just work on myself because I know that that's the most important thing I can do for my business and my life. And I just was like, and I responded to him just like, I wasn't even like bothered by it. I was like, I get it. It seems really self-indulgent when you live in a world you're used to just like giving your whole life away to a 9-to-5 and grinding away, you know, day in and day out, and then giving yourself the leftovers. And that's been like deemed honorable and necessary. And it's not true. And it's just not true. And so I was like, but like as an entrepreneur, and honestly, like I believe as a human, and I don't even think this needs to be that way. Like for people who have jobs or whatever, it could be that way too. Is like, you don't need to give yourself the leftover energy. Like, in fact, I don't think you should. It's like one of the most important things you can do for yourself is like giving yourself your first hour of your day. Like,
isn't it just wild that it's a radical concept that we have the right to enjoy our life?
Yeah.
Like that's like a radical notion that we get to just actually enjoy our life and experience it and do things that feel good. It's just like so fucked up that we have this belief system. It's just, we have a deeply rooted belief system that in order to deserve that, you have to suffer first.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just this, we're so rooted in suffering, and I'm like so done and over with that. I'm like, no suffering, just like
No
pleasure
more.
and enjoying. Yeah.
Yes.
No more suffering.
No more suffering. And we fixed it. We fixed
There.
everything.
We fixed everybody and everything.
Yep.
All done.
Just no more suffering, guys. Just
No more
cut
suffering.
it out. Just cut it out. Would you?
Just stop.
Just stop.
Oh man. Well, I'm not going to manufacture suffering. That's what I'm going to try to do.
Dude, me either.
Or choose it.
I literally the other day a few months ago, I was so stressed. And this is like serious. This is not easy. I think this is like a testament to how much inner work I've done. And I literally was like, because I was so stressed because I was hiring so many people and like onboarding them. It's just like so time consuming, so energy consuming. And I just like was like, I was snapping at my COO, and I was like, that is not something that happens ever. And I kept having to apologize for snapping at her because I was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's okay, you're stressed, I know. And I was like, this has to stop. And I literally was just like, there's no fucking point in being stressed out about this. You have a lot to do. It's gonna get done. It might not get done to the, like, you might be spread a little thin. And so like everything isn't getting quite the attention it deserves, but you'll have time on the back end to go back and refine it. And you just like, you just have to stop being stressed because it's like, it's just like bad. Mm-hmm. And I did. And one of my, like on the team meeting, they like noticed. I was like, they're like, you're so much calmer. What happened? Like, what did you do? And I was like, I literally just decided that I'm not going to be stressed anymore.
I love that. Like you can do that.
And one of the women that works with me, she was like, boss. And I was like, she was like, what is that like? She was like cracked me up. I was like, listen. I love that. It was just like, this is like years of like all the and then I just like all the fucking personal development work I've done. And then also knowing that like, you don't always have like a hack and sometimes you can just choose it. And I seriously like, kid you not, like from that point on, I was like laughing in meetings. I stopped snapping at my poor COO. I was like having fun again. And I just, because I just saw that I was like not of any use to anyone and like causing a little bit of harm, or at least just like not living in alignment with like what I like value. Anyway,
and
it was
not
just
enjoying.
Like, I was like, that's an option. Yeah. And I remember it's like, for me, it's like such a like solid moment in time because it's like a moment where I was like, that's an option. I didn't even know that was an option. I just was like, I decide. Refuse. Yeah. I opt out.
Of being,
and
because
it was
it's like it's this
so much better.
That you were like, I'm stressed, so that equals this. It was just a habit that you had, like being stressed equals this, and then you just decided being stressed can look different. It doesn't have to equal that. You know?
I think part of it was that the overwhelm of everything getting done, and then also like because it was a different workload than I was used to, that getting stressed is like the way you kind of like deal with it. You know what I mean? It was a subconscious belief, but it was like, I don't know. It was just like, why? Like, how is this helping anyone? It's not helping me. It's not helping my team.
I know. Like, I've done the same thing, but with like sadness. I was like, do I have to be sad about this? Like having like some pervasive, deep, like mourning something. And I like, or am I just like sad about this because I feel like I should be? Like maybe I can just like let this one roll off.
Because you feel like you should be. I was like, maybe I'm stressed just because I feel like I should be. I mean, like, to be fair, there's lots of valid reasons for me to be stressed, but like, but also I have to say, like, I don't think I could have done that any earlier in my life. Like I couldn't, like even like a year or two ago. I really think that it comes from like a lot of hard work getting to a place where you're just like, no, I'm just not going to.
Yeah. I love that.
Anyway.
Yes. More of that.
Just choosing what you want for your day. Like literally, like you can choose it.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Obviously life can get in the way.
Yeah. And then kids, you know, that happens, but you're about to find out.
Yes.
Well, I love you. This was so good. This felt good to dive into.
I love this conversation.
This is like your jam.
It's my favorite. So my entire book is about, which will be coming out next year, early next year.
I'm so stoked.
I'm going to have a book baby, and then I'm going to have a baby baby.
a book baby and then a baby baby. Sounds good.
That's the plan. Okay.
Well, thank you for tuning in and listening, and we'll see you next time. Okay?
Till next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.